And let me get the banner in there. And we are live. Welcome to our Untitled show. Our host is R. Jones. And obviously, I am not he. So this is David Sanford filling in. And I've got my man from the BX, Mr. Dominic Donato. Dom, how are you doing today?
Good evening, Dave. All good, baby.
Yeah. So right now it's just you and me. I guess we could talk a little baseball because that's what we like to do anyway.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's look at right off the bat the struggles of the New York Mets and the New York Yankees. So Dom, what's your take on our New York baseball team?
Honestly, Dave, I'd say the Yankees are struggling. The record don't indicate it because of the month we had of May.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I think the Yankees are probably a step behind the Mets right now.
Wow, that's a bold statement. Before we go,
they haven't won a series since the end of May.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm. They might win it tonight. I don't know what the score is. Yeah. They might break the streak tonight.
They got they're still playing Tampa?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me just introduce our brother Knickerbocker Av. It's nice to have you back on the show. Welcome.
What's going on, guys?
How you feeling?
What up, Av?
Yo, what up, Dom? What's going on, guys? Man, this is a hell of a day to pick. To talk about baseball. Because it is not pretty living in New York City, rooting for the hometown team, whether it's the Yankees or the Mets. The Mets. Given, I think they're a little overachieving right now, considering where we thought they would be. At the beginning of the season to where they are now. I think that they're like slightly, a little overachieving. They're doing better than what I expected. But the Yankees, after that month of what was it, April or May, they started off on a hell of a hot streak and then just lost 15 or 16 out of the last 20, and it's almost inexplicable as to what happened to these two teams. It seemed like once they started to once time started to really press on and people started to figure out how to play these two teams, especially the Yankees, it just became curtains. It's curtains. Can they fix it? Obviously, when you have guys in that lineup that can spark an offense, it can turn around at any point.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when does that happen. So the fact that we're in the middle of the All-Star break and everything, and it's kind of a blessing because I think they desperately needed the rest.
So let's talk about the Yankees first before we go into the Mets. So the Yankees, they are at what's their record now? I see. What's the Yankees record now? 54-37. It looks like,
and 56-38.
Oh, 56-38. Okay, so I cheated them. And they're ahead of the AL East, but I think you're right though, Nick. That hot start really is what's saving them right now. I'm a Mets fan, but I'm a baseball fan, and I'll be honest with you, even in terms of our my Mets, I haven't even been watching them as thoroughly this year. I just been preoccupied with a lot of things. But I keep abreast of things. So I was kind of surprised to see that the Yankees had fallen off because they were running away and then all of a sudden they fell back. So that caught me off guard. And I want to welcome our brothers, Shamik. And how you doing, brother?
What's going on, y'all? What's going on?
We're gonna
be
talking some Mets baseball real soon.
But I don't know why struggle is with the Mets, but that's crazy. The Yankees definitely struggling.
Our team host picked the topics and the titles for the topic, but I'm not a Yankee fan, but again, I'm not rooting against them. But again, the injury bugs and Stanton, I don't know what's with that. Dom, tell me a little bit about Stanton. I mean,
that's the elephant in the room, Dave. Everybody complains about him, but I think if I rewind this, these struggles began when he got hurt. But I will say this. For an extended period, April, May, we was first in ERA, first in batting average against. To talk about just the pitch. So, again, you know what I always say, guys, sooner or later, chickens come home to roost. Yeah. When you start seeing the same pitcher like Gil, yes, he had a great start, but did anybody know who he was? Stroman, I got to give him credit, guys. I don't care how bad the Yankees are playing, pitching, even him. He goes out there, he gives his heart. He always looks highly motivated. But it's them other guys, even Cole. Cole comes back and he be getting Cole cocked. It reminds me of Cole before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Cole during stretches of last year, too. I mean, he's one of those, when he's hot, he's hot. When he's...
Yeah, wasn't Cole's first start back against the Mets? Was that his...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and they
really pitched a handful of innings, but...
Yeah, but they hit him pretty hard.
Right.
Rocked him. Yeah.
Right, he still got some zip on his fastball, but... Again, man, not to beat a dead horse, this is the reason baseball is getting so far away from these long-term contracts.
Yeah.
And Cole is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And it's interesting what Carl had put in the chat earlier today about what's the pitcher, the kid from Pittsburgh?
Gaines.
Yeah. And I think he said he had a no-hitter going into like the 7th, and then he pulled him.
Yeah.
That's the second time it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took him out.
Yeah.
That's analytics for you, though.
Yeah, that's stupid for you.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm an old-time baseball fan, and I think I put in the chat about the Marichal Spawn game. That was 60 years ago, but still, the fact that those could go 16 innings each and 1-0 game. Never see anything like that again.
You don't even got to go that far back, Dave. We had Nolan Ryan.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
pitching 13, scoreless innings.
Yeah.
And he's throwing 103 miles an hour.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
You know
what I wonder, guys. This is a question in case I wonder what it does to the pitcher. If anybody has an answer for that, what does it do to his psyche?
Nothing.
You don't think that today's pitcher, that's just the way that the game is played today, and so they don't.
I don't think the pitchers ever really want to come out. I think they come out now because look at how much you're paying them. Nolan Ryan was probably making 6 figures when he was pitching. 9 innings and throwing 150 pitches. So if he goes, he goes. They're not going to invest that much money. They're just pampering these millionaires. So when you look at the investment, it's just like if you buy an expensive car, you're going to make sure you take it for an oil change.
Yeah,
you're going to take care of it a lot better because it's worth more. So I think that's kind of where that's kind of where it went. The problem with taking Skeens out is Pittsburgh is terrible, and you have the worst bullpen in baseball, and you up 1-0. They could have easily lost that game.
Yeah.
The most astonishing thing about me is his record. I think he's 5-0. I'm not positive.
Yeah,
5-0 or 6-0.
Yeah, on a bad team.
How he leads the games to that bullpen and he still gets away with a win is unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering in the aspect of as long as baseball has been in existence, people, believe it or not, there ain't been that many no-hitters. There ain't been that many perfect games.
Right.
When you consider baseball is 500 years old and we've seen 65 million pitches. There's still only a handful of pitchers that have pitched a no-hitter in a perfect game.
Right.
What does that do to Dave? Hey, Dave, sorry you're pitching a no-hitter, bro, but really?
Yeah.
Well,
I like to know how many pitches he had.
I think he only had about 89 to 90.
Hell no. But, I'm going to look it up while y'all are talking.
Yeah, I don't know how many, But he's young, and they gonna take care of that. They gonna take care of that kid. And trust me, the way he's playing, he gonna have an opportunity at a few more because he looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
99 pitches.
99 pitches. So
that's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you figure if you leave him in, and he ends up throwing 120, and they break up the no hitter in the bottom of the eighth or whatever, like that's a tricky call.
Yeah, and to your point, Craig, there's a lot more that these managers have to answer to. Let a guy get hurt. The first thing they're going to do is point to that one game that he pitched 120 pitches, and they didn't get the no hitter either out of it. So that's a scary thing. I remember as a Met fan, and Craig, I'm sure you remember the Pulsifer and Izzy and Wilson era.
Mookie Wilson was my man.
Yeah. So but these when the young guns came up, in the 90s, those pitchers, and we had all of our hopes set on that, and then one by one they broke down by injuries. I remember that same time period. The Cubs had Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor, and teams are scared. They're scared, but it makes me wonder, what is it about today's game or the more recent game as opposed to the game of the past, where these guys seem to go out there with rubber arms and never get injured?
It has a lot to do with today's medical technology. Guys are opting more for that Tommy John surgery more now than they ever have in years past. And not to mention, I mean, I think we're almost completely out of the PED era. And back then that helped explain a little bit of, the durability of certain pitchers and being able to, to throw 98 or above on a consistent basis. But now with the way Tommy John surgery is being performed and the amount of healing that it involves and all the additional medical rehab that goes with it, you're going to see guys that couldn't throw more than 97, 98. All of a sudden, they'll top out at 100, 105 on a given night, but then in the following night, they can't go past 70. It's just the way sports nutrition, sports medicine is progressing these days. Not to mention also the amount of analytics. Also, one thing that I have been paying attention to is that pitching coaches are teaching different ball grips and that's something that it was very big in Japan because their baseball's a little bit smaller and it's a little bit more aerodynamically perfected as opposed to the American way. But you put all those things together and you can start seeing the durability and the performance in full display with some of these guys, especially after they elect to have the Tommy John surgery or any other kind of operations to kind of help them. So we're out of PEDs. But now we're in kind of like PEOs.
I think also too, you got these kids throwing curveballs in like third grade. So like the child, I don't know about football, but like basketball and baseball is way more intense coming up. So by the time you're 18, 19, you got mileage that a lot of these old pitchers didn't have by the time they hit the majors.
That's very true.
We had that conversation about basketball. Remember, Dave, AAU? But here's where I always get nervous. We talk about what Av just said, the sports medicine, sports science, all of this enhanced stuff, baseball, basketball, and we got more lost games than we ever had before we had all this sedity, high speed, whatever you want to call it. Now we got so much stuff that we think I just looked it up, guys. This kid is 22 years old. 22 years old. I would almost guarantee each and everybody on this line, if we're together in 2 years, he won't even be on the Pirates.
Yeah.
There's a franchise going nowhere.
Yeah.
You barely strike above 500 every so often. And here you got a kid pitching a no-hitter at 22 years old. And you pull him. Like y'all are in the pennant race and you're trying to save him for September.
But it's so crazy, Don, when you think about a franchise like the Pirates, because when we were coming up, the Pirates were one of the top teams you know, the We Are Family Pirates. Even before that, you know, of course, you had the Clemente era. So they were, you know, in the playoffs regularly. And you know, what's happened to that franchise. But I wanted to go back to the point about the analytics and the science and all of that. You know, another thing, though, that I would say to the health benefit of today's player is that the player 50, 60 years ago, their arm hurt, they didn't tell anybody. You know, because they didn't have any guarantees. There was far fewer teams in the league. And so, you know, getting a major league roster spot was something that you really had to protect. And so guys, you know, they pitched until their arms fell off in some cases, and position players, same thing. And that's why they had to introduce a lot of those other elements like the greenies and so forth. Here, pop this, because they didn't want management to know that you hurt. No, I'm good, coach. I'm ready to go. But these guys are falling apart. So that aspect of it, you know, I will say we're protecting the players, definitely protecting them from themselves sometimes. But the system, you know, has allowed players to now say they can say, hey, coach, you know, I need a day or something like that they couldn't say 50, 60 years ago. So if we got nothing else on the Yankees, let's talk a little bit about the Mets. And Craig, I'm going to let you start us off on that one. The non-struggling Mets.
I mean, we're above 500, so it's a great time right now. We just won the day too. I think the Yankees are right now.
Yeah, they won the day. Yep.
My biggest dream for the Mets growing up was that we would get a different owner that wasn't cheap, and then we finally got one, and he bought 2 senior citizens that set us back. We're still paying them.
Yeah.
You know, Lindor starts off way too slow for the money that he gets. Right now, we got Singer hurt. We have a makeshift starting lineup. We paid a closer that can't win a game in Diaz. I mean, it feels like they're cursed.
Yeah. I mean, that pen is a horror show.
But here's the thing too, because I think you're a little older too, like I am.
Yeah.
We have some World Series. So I mean, we've had some tremendous times too.
Oh, absolutely.
So, you know, we've been to World Series. We won a couple World Series in my lifetime. So I can't really complain too much about them. But you know, I can remember like even David Wright, who I hate to death. He was hurt when we needed him the most. It's just always something that gets us. It's always, you know. And with the Phillies and Dodgers looking the way they look, I mean, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah. All right, wait.
I don't know. You remember Dave?
Hold on. I need to ask this question.
I was the guy that talked you off the ledge, Dave, saying, you know what? Even when they were playing bad, I was like, all right, they're not that far out of second. They're not that far out of the wild card. When Martinez comes back, we get that adult in the room, and maybe pieces will start falling together. Atlanta's missing their best player the whole year.
Yeah.
If this is the time the Mets can maybe creep up, and they got a good team, guys. I just think they've had, again, they go on. I think just me, guys, and I'm not a Met fan, you know that. But I think their spurts are too far and in between. They'll have a good spurt that's this big, and they'll have a bad spurt that's that big. So you're 2 games over 500. When you go through that drought, now you're 5 games under 500. If they could find some level and some consistency, I agree with Craig. Their closer, they might want to go to closer by committee.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Greg,
this guy, I love Diaz. I hate what happened to him in the World Baseball Classic, but
Mets luck.
Yeah, but I'm just saying though, he got hurt at the bat. I don't know.
Get the air out of a season hasn't even started yet. Okay.
I got a question. Craig, why do you hate David Wright? I want to know why.
So I'm the fan with all my teams, whether it's the Giants, the Mets, or the Knicks. That is the most critical of everybody. David Wright was just hurt and not dependable at the times we need him the most. I'm big on when we need you, you got to show up. And listen, he had a stellar career. He's outstanding. You know, if they want to retire his number or whatever they're going to do, whatever, that's great. But what did he really accomplish? And when we needed him the most, he was hurt. He was hurt his entire career.
Yeah,
He was.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I don't hate him for that. I still like David Wright. David Wright gave his all for us. It just wasn't, like you said, when we needed it, but that wasn't his fault. It's not like David Wright wasn't reckless. He wasn't one of these guys that he got stupid injuries. He hurt himself legitimately, and when he was out there, he was nothing but a pro for us and homegrown talent. It's funny. I think we got David Wright because of the Hampton when Hampton left for free agency. That's how we landed that spot and got David Wright. But he's he gave it all to the franchise, and a guy who does that, I gotta respect him. Injuries happen; it's part of the game. It was unfortunate that he had so many, especially when we really could have used him. But I can't hold that against him. I'd rather that than a guy who's full of potential and doesn't even try. And when you need him, he doesn't show up because he's doing something else that off the field stuff that gets him in trouble or something like that. So I can't hate on David Wright for that.
No, like I don't hate him as a person. I think he's great. I just hate the time that he was here. He couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm one of those fans that I don't care if you're in a strip club all night. I didn't care that Dwight Gooden was getting high. We won a World Series. I didn't care that he missed the parade. We won. I was happy. I didn't care. Like David Wright might be the greatest guy in the world, but when we needed him the most, he didn't do anything. So what do we? It's almost like with the Knicks with Melo. Like Melo's not no top 3, 4, 5 Knick to me. He didn't win anything. Like I just don't. I'm just big on even like the Hall of Fame. We throw these awards out to these people and put them in these things. Like you have to do something for me to be able to be like, okay, I get it. Like and unfortunately, David Wright. I mean, unfortunately, he got hurt. He played the right way. He did all of that, but he just wasn't showing up in the right moments. So that's what makes me look at him like, man, I got animosity towards him.
So switching sports for a moment. What are your thoughts about Patrick Ewing?
Ironically, when we needed him most, where was he? Sprewell carried that team.
There's a caveat to Patrick Ewing, though. Because, one, he was our Patrick, and I'll always say that. Two, he was never around. Name me one Hall of Famer that played with Patrick Ewing.
No.
Name me an all-star that played with Patrick Ewing. Only a couple.
Yeah,
don't go so far. It was only a couple.
Yeah.
Oakley and Starks, that's it.
Those guys were just spurts. Latrell Sprewell had his spurt. Allen Houston had his spurt. Charles Smith had his spurt, and he needs a punch in his face because that was a reason that maybe that year Ewing could have got over that hump.
Yeah.
But this clown couldn't hit a bunny. I'll always look at Ewing differently, guys, because one, again, talking about David Wright, Patrick Ewing gave us his all with ice packs on his knees.
Yeah, he did.
With limited talent around him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always will look at Patrick just a little different. Yes, he missed a finger roll. I get it. But we would have never got to that finger roll without Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, that finger roll was disgusting.
Yes, it was.
It was disgusting.
Are we even in that position without Patrick Ewing? No.
I mean, I don't know, but
no.
But the thing is, the difference between champions and that is they don't do that finger roll. So whether we was there or not, that finger roll was disgusting. And again, like the Mets curse is not as bad as the Knicks curse, but that just goes to the Knicks curse. We finally get to the finals, and Patrick Ewing is unfortunately hurt. The difference between him and David Wright is Patrick Ewing showed up every day. Most times, David Wright missed. I don't even know how many games. He missed like the equivalent of 3 seasons. So Patrick Ewing was out there at least, hustling and doing it. Plus, he played in a different era where you didn't necessarily have to play with Hall of Famers. I mean, the Pistons won with people that you can argue ain't Hall of Famers. Like, I mean,
they are.
But are they Hall of Famers?
They actually are now, eh?
I mean, but Derrick White is going to be a gold medal Olympian. I don't think anybody's going to remember Derrick White from this Olympic team. So let's be realistic when we give people titles just because they got thrown into a Hall of Fame. There's plenty of guys in the Hall of Fame that we know damn well shouldn't be there. Yao Ming is not a Hall of Famer.
That's a subject for another day.
Yeah.
Yao Ming is not a Hall of Famer. Ben
Nor
Wallace
Tracy
is not
McGrady.
Ben Wallace is not. Yeah, this. So like when I say Hall of Famer, I'm talking about legit Hall of Famers, and guys can have their run and have a Hall of Fame year that makes them just as good as the Hall of Famers that people played with. So when you talk about Sprewell, I mean, what he did in that 1 year, that was a Hall of Fame type career, type year that he had. You know what I'm saying? So when I say that, I say Patrick Ewing had enough time to get over the hump. Unlike maybe like if you said that about Carmelo, I could see it because he had that team was devoid of talent, but that's his fault.
Yeah, see, Melo for me, and I don't want to stray too far away from baseball. I just brought it in as an example of two, guys that like Dom said that was our Patrick. Well, I kind of feel the same way about David Wright, but
did the Mets ever get to the World Series with David Wright?
2015, he was on that team, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of David Wright.
He was in a sweatsuit.
Yeah.
So and that's another thing too. Like if that team gets to the World Series and he's not even playing and it was a cut of him, how good was that team or how good was his impact?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put the impact on him, but
baseball's a little different. Yeah,
baseball's a little different too because a lot of guys they are very instrumental in the locker room and lift guys up. But anyway, the Mets are not struggling. They won 7-0 today. Yeah,
exactly.
They've got that OMG thing going. I'm all for it. So let's just enjoy the ride. So if you guys want, we can move on. Sticking in baseball, but more in the legal aspect of baseball, we are going to dive into our not our guy, but this guy, Wander Franco, and officially charged with the sex abuse exploitation of a minor. We've touched on this earlier in one of our earlier shows. But guys, let me hear what you got to say about Wander.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I know. Who wants to go first?
Nah, I'll go first. I think we got to be careful with these people being accused. Let me just say this first. I'm a single father. My daughter's 19. I raised her since she was 8 months old. So this is a very sensitive topic. But that being said, we got a guy in that we should have drafted in Terrence Shannon Jr. that was accused that ruined his college career. Not only did he go to trial and beat it, he took the stand in his defense, which is unheard of. We got a guy, Trevor Bauer, who was accused. Not only was he not guilty, they locked the person up that accused him for lying. Yeah. Now, those are two examples when this thing happens every single day. So I'm not saying that to say this guy's automatically innocent, but I don't know that he's automatically guilty either. Plus, sometimes with this minor stuff, there's so many variables. You got females going up there telling people they're 25. And should he have known? Listen, I ain't here to answer that. You got these girls out here knowing this guy got a lot of money. Does that mean all of them? No, but I wasn't there, so I'm not here to. I'm very careful about putting this this is the kind of thing that even if he's found innocent, this is what you're going to remember about him and try to ask yourself, was he innocent or guilty? Like you can't, you got to, like these charges, man, these are terrible. These things stick with you no matter how it ends.
Right.
Because all people going to remember is you was charged with it. And in the back of their mind, you did it. They don't care what anybody else says. And that's a tricky place to put, a grown man.
It is. And from my understanding, we talked about this on the show before, but with this particular young lady at the time, they both were underage.
Exactly.
And he was just older, but they both were, I think they were in high school together or something like that. So to Craig's point, I'm very sensitive as well. I work in a school, so I work around, I don't have a daughter, but you feel very paternal in a lot of ways, a protective nature. So I get all of that, but I'm still really curious about her family because it seemed like, from my understanding, they were aware and were okay with things until he made it to professional baseball, and then things kind of changed. The money is funny, and it changes things. Anybody else want to jump in on that?
It's funny. It's funny what Craig said. I remember when we had this conversation, Dave. We talked about both of them were minors. Then we brought up, I know I did, Trevor Bauer, how this guy was found not guilty. This lady was found guilty of lying find all of this shit, but his career is over.
Right.
Once the allegations came out, his career was over. Period. End the conversation. Yeah. We said it then, Dave. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, he was still borderline when this story came up.
Yeah.
And what happened to Trevor Bauer? Has anybody heard from him lately? I tried to reach out to him.
He's overseas. He has a 1.02 ERA, and nobody will touch him.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what? You're right, Dave, because that's something else we said. When they were dating as kids, nobody gave a rat's you know what.
That's right.
All of a sudden, he gets that MLB contract, and I'm not saying it was motivated by the dollar guys like Craig would say. I was not there. XYZ, but it just seems weird. I'm not going against this young lady. I'm just saying it seems weird, especially the part, Dave, that they were both minors.
Yeah.
And their parents, his parents, no parent in that country said jack diddly until he got that contract.
Exactly.
I know somebody personally that went to jail for statutory. The girl lied. She went on the stand and said she lied, but the way the laws are worded, it didn't matter.
Right.
And he had to do 3 years. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I think I'm guessing, I think he was 18. So it's not like you're 22 years old and you might be in college or you got a job and the girl, you can't find her all day because she's at school lunch. Like, this is one of them things where he's a kid too, and they both kids. It's just, I think it's 3 years or something is the difference, and it might have been 4 or something like that. And you know, I don't know. I mean, these school systems, they got girls walking around these high schools that look 30.
They do.
I mean, you know, and
I'm not using that. Let's not.
No, I'm not using that example. But what I'm saying,
I'm not saying that, Greg. I'm just saying you're right.
I did 9th grade in Georgia. When I got to 9th grade in Georgia, I was a skinny little kid from Jersey. I thought some of these students were teachers.
Right.
Like, now, I'm not using that as an excuse. What I'm saying is, if a 5'7", 170-pound woman, fully developed woman says, I'm 19, I mean, how much more research are you going to do when you're looking at them and they look 30? You know, that's all I'm saying. You know, I don't know this lady, and I hope that she didn't endure whatever they're charging this guy with. I'm definitely not saying that, but I'm saying I'm just very careful to put that on somebody unless I know for a fact that's what really happened. You know, when you talk about 2 people at minors, like, it just, you know, that's a lot to destroy a man's life over.
It is, and also we're all of a certain age, and we understand. You know, we have a maturity about us. You know, Wanda is 23 now.
Right.
So when this happened, you know, you think about a younger guy who does not recognize, you know, us. We can look at somebody and there's things that we can see in there that kind of gauge where they are as far as their age. But when you're younger, a lot of times, you know, there's very young, there's a child, and then there are those that could be anywhere from your age up to 30, like you were saying. So I think that the nature of this thing is very delicate, very sensitive, and of course I abhor anybody that, you know, takes advantage of somebody. But I really haven't seen anything evidence-wise to lead me to believe that this was something where he was taking advantage of a younger woman. It appeared, from what I know of it, that it was consensual, and they both were kids. So I'm still going to, you know, fall back on that. Now, if they have some bombshell evidence that leads to one way or the other, okay. But right now, as far as what I know about it, I'm not going to condemn him, you know, without knowing all the details. And there's so many other areas with that. So I thought that was it. Av, you got anything to add to it?
The second I heard about this case, it was just right after I watched the documentary on the 1990 Yankees. And I just watched the episode about Mel Hall. Now, if you don't remember who Mel Hall was, Mel Hall was a professional baseball player that was dating a 15-year-old girl, and the family knew it.
Yeah.
he's currently incarcerated right now for the same crime, just with a different person.
Wow.
And that kind of thing, it's kind of weird how the rules automatically do change the second that you get a title of superstar athlete, professional athlete, or even a millionaire. People always ask that question, does money change everything? It absolutely does, because it changes the perception that certain people will have about you. Now, I'm not talking about, just race related, class related, or anything like that, but the second that the person finds out that you're a professional athlete and you're playing for, especially at the time, the storied New York Yankees, even though it was one of the worst teams in their history, but it's still the storied New York Yankees, that franchise. It's crazy to me that a father, because I think we're all fathers here, and if we're not, we're at least uncles or big brothers, and there's somebody we look after. We're very protective of them. I'm pretty sure that father had to have, at least for a split second, thought to himself, "This is wrong. I should step in." I do understand that in a lot of families, that there are a lot of parents that they try to be, that progressive thinking parent, or like that, or their kid's best friend or stuff like that, and they want to allow them, a little more leeway. But in this kid, in Wander's case, from what I understand and from what you've been telling me so far, it seems to be that the second that this guy got money, he became a target. And it's just sad that professional athletes do have to deal with this, and I mean, I'm not completely siding with him, because I'm sure that there's always some gray area involved.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy to me that once a contract is signed and the ink is dry and the paychecks start coming in, how quickly it can change for that athlete, whether in a positive or, in Fort Wander's case, a negative way. Because Craig is right. No matter what happens in his career, this guy can become the all-time winningest pitcher in history, or whatever. And people will always come back to this one incident, whether he is proven guilty or proven not guilty, because you can't prove anybody innocent. You can only prove them guilty or not guilty.
Right.
What's going to end up happening to this poor guy's career if he's found not guilty and then he has a stellar career? They're always going to mar him with that. It's the same thing with Michael Jackson. I mean, just look at him. People talk more about his cases than Thriller.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
That's a little different, though. That's a little different.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this.
But that analogy, Michael Jackson, I don't know. He's in bed with like 10 kids.
This reminds me of something that I saw with one of you guys' ex-players. Remember, I went to school with Bobby Bonilla, and I went to school with his ex-wife, Billy. She actually grew up where I grew up. They were teenagers when they met in Herbert H. Lehman High School. They were teenagers. I'm pretty sure they were knocking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they ended up getting married. But again, their relationship started as teenagers. And I think at that time, I was a senior. So he might have been 17 and she might have been 15. Possibly, maybe going on 16.
Yeah.
So again, this isn't like groundbreaking shit. We all dated somebody when we were 15 and 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is this? Yeah, this is strange. God, we said this when it happened, Dave. This shit is kind of
we did. Yeah.
Kind of strange.
Yeah. And the other thing, who's the kid? The kid that just got drafted, I think, that is dating some 28-year-old woman. We were talking about it. I forget who it is now.
He's a basketball player.
But the point
Cooper Flood?
No,
he didn't get drafted. He's still in college.
Who just got drafted.
I know it is. It's going to come to me.
Yeah, it's one of those centers. The kid. It'll come. I know it's going to come to one of you guys. But where I'm going with this is, there are people, and I'm not saying this is the case with Wanda and this young lady, but there are people who identify people who they think are going to make it, and they get in before they make it, and then they're right there along with them. So I'm not saying that is the case, but it does happen more often than not. I mean, you look at a high school player who a star basketball player who could reasonably be in the league in 2 years, and you take him at 17, and somebody is looking at him as a potential high money maker. And
Kyle Plopowski.
what'd you say?
Kyle Plopowski.
Oh yeah,
From Duke. From Duke.
Duke. Yes, Duke. Yeah, right.
That's him.
So that happens too. And a lot of times it's family driven. I will say, listen, that is as old as time. If you look at even royalty, people arranged marriages based on the fact that what you can gain by marrying into a family or something like that. So those things aren't new. So I'm just mentioning it to say that um, I'm not saying this young lady might really have liked Wanda and wanted to be in a relationship with him, but a family to Av's point, and this is what led me to that, is when we talk about fathers. I don't know many parents who would want their daughters to be in some kind of relationship that like that with an older guy. But there are people who have that mindset of, well, my daughter is going to be set up financially, because this guy is going places, and so they will look the other turn the other eye. So and allow certain things that you wouldn't allow if he was Wanda Franco, the guy in the bodega. So I'm just saying that on that, and with that, if anybody unless anybody has something else you want to add to this, I'm going to move ahead into some NBA basketball. And so here we are. Why was Boston Celtics Derrick White chosen to replace Los Angeles Clippers Kawhi Leonard on Olympic Team USA basketball team? So we discussed this a lot in the group. But thoughts, I think Craig, you mentioned Derrick White's name a few minutes ago, and I said hold off because I knew we were getting to it.
Right.
So let's dive into this. Was Derrick White deserving of this, or was there an oversight or of another player, particularly his teammate?
It's hard to answer the deserving because the team is not the best players, it's the best team. So that's going to be the counter argument. But was he deserving of it? Absolutely not, especially when you consider who he's replacing. So he's replacing a small forward, and you have Jaylen Brown, who's MVP of the finals, who's a small forward, and you bring on a two guard. Then, I mean, what does he do better than Jaylen Brown? I know there's a conspiracy that Nike has something to do with it. I've always said that Tatum and Jaylen Brown thing, there's something underlying with that. Like in 20 years, it's going to be like the Jordan Pippen thing. Something's not right with that relationship. And did Jaylen Brown deserve MVP in the Eastern Conference Finals and the finals? I mean, it's debatable. I think he earned it. I think, you could argue both ways, but there's some kind of animosity there. It reminds me of the Jordan Isaiah thing, except it's just ironic that these two are teammates.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Tatum did it. Maybe it is a Nike conspiracy because Jaylen Brown has been extremely outspoken. I think he's top 5 IQs in sports too. Him, Kyrie, like he's a bright guy.
Yeah,
and so there's something fishy going on. I don't know where they and of all players, you take his teammate too. Like there's nobody else in the NBA you could have took. You humiliate him by taking his teammate, who's the third at best player on that team, probably fourth behind the point guard. Like that's just, I don't know. That's just disrespectful in some ways to me. He's a great player though, and what he does will be valuable to a team full of all-stars that can all score. But
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, Craig. I think that there's something in the shadows of this that we'll hear about maybe sooner than later, or maybe, like I said, down the road in some documentary, the 2024 Team USA basketball, and then we get the real story about that. But I think you hit it right on the head with the fact that they're going to leapfrog over him and go right to his teammate. And something definitely appears fishy with that. Can you prove it? No, and not until all sides eventually tell their story. But I think you're right. I definitely think you're onto something. It's suspect to me.
No shit.
Jaylen Brown, you heard what he said about we're doing this, Nike. Nike is one of the biggest sponsors. I don't know where he came up with this. We're still doing this, Nike. But here's the strange thing. With all of that conspiracy shit taken, before Kawhi got hurt, they had 5 guards on their team already. He makes 6.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you look at, again, I love the Grant Hill spin. I heard him talk about it today. We're building. What are you building? You could send probably 12 of our bench players in the NBA, and they'll still be probably favored to win an Olympic. So what are we getting at, Grant? We're building something. Well, what are you building, man?
Yeah.
If you're building something and you had 5 guards and you lost a forward, would you be building with another guard? I mean, which leads us to, if you were, then Jalen Brunson put out long ago that his hand was healthy.
Yeah.
How did all of these guys get picked before him? All of those 5 guards. But again, you lost a small forward and you replaced him with a guard on a team that had 5 guards already.
Yeah.
That's the part, guys. Whether it's favoritism, nepotism, I don't like this guy-ism, that shit to me was just a little weird.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it's channelized madism. There's something going on with
right.
If it's not favoritism, then what the hell could it be other than politics? And it's just a bunch of players and a bunch of executives got in a room, started, sat down, they wrote down their list, and they're just going down the list, and they just ensured that certain individuals, for whatever reason, just like Jordan did with Isaiah, just like everything else like that, those situations are that criteria is being met. I do believe that it has something to do with the Nike thing tremendously, because Nike, they pretty much do just about everything, and they ensure to protect their brand. And they've always shown that they want to keep it within their within their control. And just look at the rest of the team. Does anybody else wear another shoe on that team? No.
Yeah.
Do they wear?
Yeah. Steph Curry.
Steph Curry.
Okay.
And Joel Embiid.
Kawhi didn't wear Nike.
Yeah.
Right. So
because of Embiid and Curry are Under Armour. You're right.
But,
Kawhi was New Balance or
something like that.
X? Yeah. So I don't know where Jaylen Brown was coming from with that.
Yeah.
But he definitely put it out there.
I think Kawhi was No Balance, not New Balance.
Yeah, he's New Balance.
And then you got this guy. He might be gone. Who are they going to replace Durant with?
Yeah.
Durant's not leaving.
His leg is going again,
Probably they'll finally give Jalen Brunson the call. At that point,
they're going to give him 7 guards.
Every guard, yeah. Well, let's get
at this point, I don't think Nike's going to give a shit. I think they're going to look at it as a team that's like, we can still win the gold. Who cares?
I don't want Jalen Brunson to play.
Me either.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So I really don't care that he's not on that team. To be honest.
I don't really care about Olympic basketball anyway.
Really?
I don't care that much about it. I mean, it's nice, but we don't.
Yeah. We don't. But Nike sure as hell does. They absolutely do.
They could have replaced Kawhi Leonard with that kid, Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag, yeah. Well,
they can't do that.
Why?
He can be this year's Christian Laettner.
Yeah.
Nah, you don't want to do that.
I'm just saying, Greg. I mean, Greg.
You could have replaced him with 10 other NBA players.
Yeah. Or
Mikal
a college
Bridges,
player.
Hart, anybody. You don't go to the Celtics and take the kid from the that's just a slap in the face. I think Jalen said that Nike thing just to bring awareness to the fact that it was ridiculous. He knows it's not that. He knows what it is. He just can't say it because he's not that dumb. He's another dude, by the way. His girlfriend's like 42 or 43 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Phenomenal, but she's like 40-something years old. She has a kid 2 years younger than him.
Yeah. So was she his babysitter?
She don't look it though. She look every bit of 30.
No.
Yeah.
Just Google it.
She is hot. She is hot.
Fine.
There's an underlying story. I think this is about Tatum wants the gold medal all to himself. He didn't get the MVPs. And he wasn't gonna. He probably was gonna say he wasn't gonna play. It's probably some foolishness behind the scenes. I don't think because again, like Embiid is on the team because he begged to be, and they needed him. So it didn't matter what sneaker he's wearing. And Steph Curry is America's favorite, so it didn't matter what sneaker he's wearing. Now the rest of them, I could say, it's probably a Nike thing. So even if Nike comes back and says, "Oh, those two on the team," like they weren't going to turn Embiid away because they needed a big body, and nobody's going to turn. Steph Curry's like the poster boy. He's so non-confrontational. It didn't matter. So it could still be a Nike thing, even when they throw that objection that everybody doesn't wear Nike. Yeah. They do though.
Well, I'm just glad that it wasn't Bronny that they replaced him.
Oh Lord!
Oh my God!
Segueing into that,
right?
That was good, Dave.
Yeah. So we actually are going to do that, but before we'll hold off on that one because let's talk a little bit about Anthony Edwards and how he feels he should be option one.
This guy.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to talk about this.
Does Anthony Edwards have a point on that team? Is he the number one option?
Yes.
Tell me who is.
Had a number one option in the Olympics, to be honest.
I don't. Yeah.
Yes, he has a point. Yes, he does.
Okay. Any before I ask you to expand on that, any dissenters to that? Anyone disagree with that?
I'm just saying, Dave. I never remember Olympic basketball somebody saying this dude. You know, you're on a team with 12 future Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
What do we close our eyes and just put a dot on the wall and whoever's name we point to is the number one option? Really? I never heard it before. Like, who's the number one option on the 92 Olympics?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Jordan, but that team was full of number one.
Yeah.
And I think that the world, what it really was, it wasn't a Jordan showcase. It was let's show the world that we've got the best players.
Right. And we're gonna whoop your ass.
And any one of them, I could pull any one of them, throw them on the floor, and they would be the best player on the floor. So I think that was what that was about. But let's talk about young Mr. Edwards and his feelings. So Craig, take us there.
Anthony Edwards is a 22-year-old black kid from Georgia that worked for everything he got, even if you set aside his natural talents. The media makes me sick because they want every powerful, athletic black man to be humble when humbleness is not what got him to the NBA. You don't walk on the court and think you're not the number one option. I don't care who's on there. So him saying it is just abrasive to insecure people that have never been the number one option. That's what I want my player. Every Minnesota Timberwolves fan should be excited that he said, I want to be the number one option. I see nothing wrong with confidence. I see nothing wrong with him feeling like he should be because he's been on the court against all of them guys too. Like if you say who else is the number one talent, what are you going to say? Durant? He smoked Durant. You going to say LeBron? I mean, he smoked LeBron all regular season. Devin Booker was on the team with Durant. He smoked him too. So why shouldn't he feel like he should be the number one option because he's not the NBA Finals MVP? That guy's not even on the team. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a young 22-year-old black man feeling like he should be the number one option. Every little black kid should feel like they number one because you can't be number one without thinking it first. And if you don't, and you let society humble you and tell you don't think that or don't say that, then you're crazy. That's just my personal opinion.
So let me just say before first I want to welcome my brother Bishop. Bishop, your mic is live. Welcome. But let me just say,
am I in?
You're in, brother.
It says I'm backstage. Oh,
here you go.
We hear you.
You're in. But let me just say this, and then I'm gonna allow the panel to take over on it. But I think there's a difference between believing you are the number one option, which I respect a guy for feeling that there's nobody better out there.
Man.
But is he actually looking from the outside? Is he the number one option, or is it like to Dom's point, like in the past, where one night it may be him, another night it might be Booker, another night it might be LeBron, and maybe coaching that team? Are you running everything through Anthony Edwards, or are you spreading the wealth around? And you shine today, you shine next game. So I think I agree with you, Craig, about wanting them to believe that about themselves. And I would want a guy to go out there and say, "No, I'm the best. I'm the best." But does that really, is that the same as saying that on that team, looking from the outside, that it should run through him, that he's the number one option? I think maybe it's two different arguments, but I'll let the rest of you guys go on, and also Bishop, your mic is live as well. So,
Thank you.
If you take the roster they have, guys, he can say whatever he wants, whether it's popularity, longevity, because to Craig's point, we could all say what we want to be. Just like that same media that had him being the next Michael Jordan. And then when he started slipping and falling during his last run in the NBA playoffs, it was, he's only 20 years old.
22.
Again, when it comes to sheer talent, popularity, who people love, on that team, it's going to be Kevin. It's going to be LeBron and Steph Curry. You can say what you want, and it might even filter its way down to a Durant or a Anthony Davis. And that's not taking nothing away from Anthony Edwards. I'm just saying, in a popularity pecking order and a talent pecking order, if they were all on the same team, would he be the number one option?
Yeah. So Dom, you make a very good point. And can I interject for a second?
Sure.
I heard what the other brother said about him having confidence and believing in himself and all of that. That's excellent. I agree with that. However, after your finals performance against the Dallas Mavericks, who had nobody who could guard you, I would think that you would shut up and let it play itself out, because you came up way short against a team that had nobody that could guard you. So until you actually produce on a scale of that magnitude, like a LeBron James, like a Steph Curry, like a Kevin Durant, like some of those guys that are there, you know what? Shut up, learn, and keep your mouth closed. Because what that says to me is it's an insecurity that you have to say it. It will automatically play itself out when you guys are playing the games. When you guys are playing the games, you would be dominating your matchup, whoever it is, whatever country it's coming from. You don't have to verbalize that you're the best or this or that. When Michael Jordan was playing, it was understood. Hey, there's this level, and then there's this level. It was understood across all of the NBA. When Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, all of those guys knew. Even Isaiah Thomas, there's a new sheriff in town. Yeah. He showed it. He didn't come out there flapping his gums or whatever.
That's not what happened. See, and this is what happens when you get into these debates. People take what the guy said, and they miss the point that he was being asked questions. Now, if he doesn't answer the questions, he gets fined. Let's keep that in mind, too. So the NBA is tricky. Hold on one second, though. So we have to go back to what he was asked. So he
Okay.
didn't all of a sudden show up and say, when I get to this thing, I'm going to let them know I'm the one option. They
Correct.
purposely asked a 22-year-old kid that went to Georgia for 1 year, took 5 gym classes, who's the number one option on the team. He's looking in the mirror, looking at everybody, and he's not about to concede to anybody else because he's a competitor. So he said,
but,
I'm the number one option.
All right, so pause right there for a second.
Mhm.
So Wisdom would have said to him, hey, I'm here with how many Hall of Famers? I'm here with guys that have been doing this for almost 20 years and 20 years. I'm here with the guy who has scored the most points in the history of the NBA. He's basically a trailblazer and he's acknowledged how great the greatness of LeBron James. He's acknowledged that publicly. So again, Wisdom would have said, hey, why would you ask me something like that when I'm here playing with all-time greats? It's like I can't answer that question. Like that's a question.
Wisdom comes over time. The kid is 22 years old.
But
A component of wisdom is over time. You're not born with wisdom. You earn wisdom through trials and tribulations and time. He's 22 years old. What he said is the same thing that Kobe would have said when Kobe shunned off Michael Jordan in the All-Star game. It's no different. That's the kind of kid you want on your team. Now, I know what happened in Dallas, but again, he's a 22-year-old kid. It probably won't happen to him next year, and he was carrying that team all year. I mean, I like what he said.
Yeah, it's like.
Do you think? I kind of somehow thought he was doing it tongue in cheek.
He was.
To be honest,
he was smiling too.
Man, I don't think he really meant.
No, he didn't.
Because again, I'll just go back to when have we, who probably all of us have seen at least 200 Olympics. When have we ever heard Dave Sanford was the number one option on the 2008? Who's the number one option on the 2008 Olympic team?
It depends on who they playing.
I don't even
depends
know
on who they playing.
I'm just saying, I've never heard it before.
But
I just think he was doing it tongue in cheek.
It was a stupid question. It was a stupid question.
They just said that. Listen, the media sets these young kids up. You got to remember too, these kids aren't PR professionals. These kids are athletes. You know, I don't want to generalize all of them. You got guys like Jaylen Brown that's extremely intelligent, but a lot of these guys aren't fit to answer these questions. Their job is to play basketball, not to say convenient stuff.
But
you know what I'm saying? Like we got to put it all in. We got to put it all in perspective.
But you're giving him a pass in the sense that, okay, you know that you are on the cusp of getting to that next level, so you know that things are going to be. The microscope is going to be on you. They're going to ask you questions that open up Pandora's box. They're going to make assumptions about your play. They're going to make assumptions about. It's not like they're asking you that question, and you're looking at your Minnesota Timberwolves team, and Karl Anthony Towns is the closest to anything that would. This is you're in an arena with guys who have pretty much paved the way for you. Guys who have made it possible for you. It's like the prudent thing would have been to say, well, I can't even answer that question. It depends on who we playing, like matchups, like what night it is, or who's going, or who's hot, or whatever. That's how anybody else would have answered that question.
That's not how anybody else would have answered it.
No, it's not anybody else would answer the question.
You can't really say anybody else. You got to say any other 22-year-old.
You keep saying 22. You keep saying 22. These guys are not normal 22-year-olds. You keep saying that. He's a millionaire. You can't
hold on.
Giving these
money
guys passes.
Money doesn't give you wisdom.
I didn't say it gives you wisdom.
But I think to Craig's point, this is a professional athlete. That all he's done is pretty much play basketball and get in athletics. What this young brother did is exactly what he already knows how to do: play basketball and talk shit.
Right.
And then the third thing that they may teach you how to do is read off a cue card. They don't give you public relations PR training. They don't give you any of that stuff. You like Craig said, you gain that over time. The more times he gets, he has to take more public speaking roles and has to answer for a victory or a defeat or a specific matchup, and then that comes with the wisdom. But I don't have me personally, I don't have a single problem with Anthony Edwards thinking that in his universe, that he's the number one option on this team. Even though you, me, and everybody on this line, and anybody who ever watches this will believe, like, I think LeBron, Curry, and I can name 5 or 6 guys before him to be the number one option. But it's okay for you to believe that if it gives you a competitive edge, and that's what you've been basically been bred to believe since birth.
Yeah, that was a little. It was a little tongue in cheek, whatever. It was
Right.
a little. It was a little just like, dude, just be politically correct. And these guys are taking media courses and being more media savvy, because if you remember when Michael Jordan and Magic and all these guys, when they were asked questions, uh, this and that, those were regular words in their vocabulary. These
Mhm.
guys are extremely articulate when they're dealing with the media. Like, if you listen to some of them speak, and it's not just the Jalen Browns, and these guys are extremely articulate, and is not a part of their vocabulary, or they're not repeating the same thing over and over, to answer whatever question. So they're very media savvy. It's just, it rubs people the wrong way. And for me, I'm just saying, like, after your performance in the playoffs, in the conference finals, you don't have any right. Like, you couldn't perform against the Dallas Mavericks, and you think you're gonna go on the world stage and play against players who have been doing this their whole lives, and you're that guy? It's like, come on, dude, relax,
Oh,
relax.
Yo, how old was how old Michael Jordan went to the Olympics in what, his third year, right?
no,
No, it was like
It
his
was later
8th or
than that.
9th.
he was about Michael Jordan
He
was
might have went when he was in college.
Nah, he wasn't in college.
Well, no, he had one when he was in college, and then he
Yeah.
had one again in 92. That was what, his 10th or 11th year in the league?
6. I think he came in '84.
Hey,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
he
you're
was
gonna
yeah.
tell me
8th year.
like you're the first option over guys who've won multiple championships in the league that you can't even crack the NBA finals, but you're the first option.
He's
Shut up.
he's only
Come on, stop it.
he's only saying okay. Number one, he's only saying that because he's probably the youngest one on the team anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
can't
was.
yeah,
really
he
Jordan,
was
So
Jordan
young.
won
let,
it.
we
He was
talk
Jordan
we're
won the
talking
gold in
Steph Curry.
1984.
We
He won
talking
his
Steph
first gold
Curry.
in 1984.
Yeah, 84. He came in the league in 82, right?
No,
84.
84,
Came in the
85.
league.
He came in after
Yeah.
the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yes, he
Oh,
did.
all right.
Remember, no pros played in the Olympics until
right. It was only
92.
college players.
Right.
It was only
That's right.
college
Yeah.
players.
See, the thing with Anthony Edwards, first of all, people are taking this way too. They want everybody to be politically correct unless it's an issue that affects them. Like, the kid is laughing when he says it. I
Right.
Exactly.
don't think any of his teammates took it abrasive. Any
Right.
of his teammates really rest in peace, Kobe. But if Kobe was there, he probably would have told him that's what you're supposed to think.
Exactly.
People want these athletes to say all this political correct stuff. That's not getting us or our culture anywhere. Like, we need to stop with all this, because you hate Kawhi when media people hate Kawhi because he won't talk to them, because he's not going to get caught up in a situation like what just happened. He just says absolutely nothing to him. So you can't win with them anyway. The guy's making fun of it. He's having the ball. He's 22. He's on the Olympic team. He's having the time of his life. He's rich. He just signed a new contract, and everybody wants him to be a 40-year-old VP from some company that knows exactly what and how to say. Like, at 22 years old, I would have gave the same answer.
I agree with everything you said, Craig, except the age. The 22-year-old don't get no alibi in my eye.
No.
Again, I always got to look at things in a different light. But 22 is not 18. It's not 14. He's a grown-ass man at 22. At 19, 18 years old, you're old enough to die for your damn country. At 22, you should be able to act like a damn grown man. This is a problem, whether you want to bring color in it or not. Men maturing in any color, any race, any background is too slow. Men have a problem maturing so slow that women have lapped us to a degree that we can't even stand up no more. 22 years old, guys, and we're talking about how he should say this. He's 22 years old. He ain't a kid.
I would argue that a 22-year-old millionaire athlete that went to college for 1 year is less mature than a 22-year-old man that did 4 years in college. and lived a different kind of humble life.
It's debatable, Craig.
Depends on your perspective.
I think some of this money and the way they get pampered and don't really have to do anything.
But
I think it's.
I'm talking about society overall, Craig.
No,
it's taken men too long to mature to begin with, and now you got a guy, as you say, has all this money, all this fame. So what does that mean? Now he's going to take an extra 2 more years to mature because now his age got to catch up with his dollars. I don't know. I mean,
I'm going to turn
Wow.
into R. Jones for a second, and let me do the timeout.
Right.
I want to recognize our brother. Reggie,
happy birthday,
birthday boy!
Thank you, fellas. Thank you.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Welcome, Reg.
Yes, sir. In the building. 55
no
laps.
bowling ball.
55.
Yeah, I know it's killing me right now.
Double nickel.
That's right.
Double nickel for sure.
Yo, can I ask one question off of the basketball thing?
Sure.
Reg, you went all the way to Vegas to be in a bowling tournament?
Or
you was just
what they call it's called the Nationals. Everybody competes around the country.
Reg has been doing
I
this.
didn't do so hot, but I ain't no professional, but I think I held my own.
My question is, Reg, did you get selected to go there and play?
No. I paid for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but you had to have some kind of game to even pay your way in. You couldn't be a 180 bowler and say I'm going to Vegas.
Hey, listen here, man. I wish I would have shot 180 out there.
Oh no, Reg.
No, we're both okay. So now we're amateurs. We're amateurs. We're bowling on a professional shot. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's like us. Like we sitting here. Let's see. We 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's like us going up against who's ever in the pros now. The 12 man. That's who we going up against. So yeah, we was but it was fun. It was an experience.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, those guys do that to eat. They do that to eat. Them professional bowlers, they do that.
They both 300.
But they bowling like they bowling. I'm not even gonna lie to you. They bowling 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
They 12 like how we go to work. They in a bowling alley. 12 hours a day. Easy.
Did you bowl a 200, Reg? Did you even get a 200 game?
Hell no. My highest game was a 197.
Okay.
And listen, and I say that with my chest down, bro.
I hear you, buddy. I hear you.
Wow.
Bravo.
Hey, I don't mean to get off track, Dave, but I thought Reggie was out there bowling like 300s, man. I'm like, he's in the big league.
No, listen.
He traveled for this shit.
Now listen, I do have a couple of 300s under my belt, but not on that shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not on that.
So then,
like league bowling for us is different from what we bowled on in Vegas. But like I said, it's fun.
So the bowling, the lane itself, is there a difference between that and the neighborhood bowling alley? Like,
okay, so now the only difference is the oil pattern. That's it.
Okay. So I'm going to act like I know what you're talking about, but
let's not like it.
Listen, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that our brother went out there to the Nationals and did his thing, had a good time, and that's really what it's all about.
I gotta stop, Dave. I gotta stop because I was pumping my chest out and quiet. I didn't put it on the thread. I'm like, damn, man, my boy Reggie got selected to go to Vegas. Look at this shit, man.
Well, listen.
I should have never asked him the question. Now I feel.
All right, don't say anything, and we're gonna keep that. We're gonna keep that out there.
Yeah, but you gotta be good enough. You gotta be good enough to even get there, to even be like, yo, I'm going to pay to go here. You gotta be good enough to do that.
It don't sound like you could do it as high as 197.
Well, Reg
Listen here, let me tell you something, bro.
Before you go, Reg has been doing this since high school. Like since we were in high school, Reg has been bowling his ass off. So
that's right. You and him went to high school together.
Yeah.
One of this.
Yeah.
Me
gotta
and
hook up
Mark,
with you.
all
I gotta
of
hook
us
up
was
one
in high
day.
school together.
I
Yeah.
gotta hook up with you and go one day too. I got some bowling shoes and a ball.
You
too.
bowl, Greg? Greg?
Yeah, I bowl, shoot pool. I
I
drink.
used to when I was in
Wow.
Germany.
Yeah, I'm
All
not.
right.
But I will say this. In my heart, Reg, you're the number one option.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
And I'm
Oh,
I
old enough
humbly
to be
man.
accept
saying
that.
it.
This,
I
this,
humbly accept that. But hey, listen, man.
Yeah.
I got work to do, brother. I got work to do.
did we
Yeah.
just have a
No.
Jerry Maguire moment? What's happening here?
Show him the money.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know
I'm
about that.
sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to. I
it's
didn't
like,
mean
yo,
to.
you had me a hello?
Yeah,
What's
you-
happening?
Yeah, pick a fight.
Y'all are crazy.
You
Y'all
complete
are
us,
crazy.
Reg. You complete
I
us.
was just curious, man.
Yeah. Well, listen, I like that, and I'm gonna keep that in my world. That's what it is. So if anybody else wants to jump in on this, Anthony Edwards. If not, we're gonna move on. Staying in the lane of basketball. So anybody
Yo,
else?
he's young. He's young and dumb, bro. Let
Young,
let the man live. Yo, let the man live.
I got you. So let's since we're talking about youngsters, let's move on to the NBA Summer League and impressions on Bronny James.
4.8.
Let's go with the shorter part first. Impressions on Bronny James, and then we go into the Summer League overall because I'm sure that there's not a whole lot of analysis that needs to be done.
Can I go first?
Yes, you may.
Please.
All right. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. What we all been saying, probably what we're all thinking, his ass should have stayed in school.
Mm.
Yeah.
He couldn't.
Real simple. Huh?
Yeah.
He couldn't.
He should stay in school. I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying he's not. He's a talent. Is he talent? Is he going to develop? Yes, but what is his ceiling? We don't know. But I mean, if he meets R.J. Barrett standards, I think that's a plus for him.
Kevin Knox.
Well,
Maybe
R.J.
a Kevin
Barrett.
Knox standard.
well, let me say.
Oh my God.
Craig said he couldn't. Are we talking about the LeBron factor? Let's
No.
because
Now we've seen this. People are making a big story of this because for whatever reason, the world hates LeBron James. I don't understand it personally, but whatever. They had a kid named AJ Johnson that got drafted. I think it was by Oklahoma. He averaged 2.9 points when he was drafted. He was the 23rd pick in the first round. Nobody said anything because his dad was non-existent. So when I say he couldn't stay, just like a lot of Kentucky players, like if he went back to USC, he wouldn't have been able to do too much anyway. Like sometimes some of these guys don't leave and go to the pros just because they ready to be the NBA. Sometimes they go because they know the opportunity is there, so they jump on that opportunity while it's there. If he'd have waited a year, I don't know that he would have had the same leverage in terms of getting drafted. But we've also seen fathers put their sons in. Look at James Dolan. James Dolan is a perfect example of a kid that look what's going to happen with the Cowboys. He's about to gift that team to his son. We don't know if his son is talented at what he does. I mean, it's more against LeBron to me than it is against Bronny because we've seen tons of players get drafted on pure potential, a lot higher than in the 50s that haven't really done anything at the level prior to that, and
But we also seen guys like the kid on UConn, averaged 16 points, won a chip, didn't even get drafted. I'm not looking at the LeBron factor.
There you go.
I'm not looking at the LeBron factor. I'm looking at straight up talent. The kid averaged 4.5 points in college. 4.5 points. And he played on a shitty team. So you think he'd averaged a little more than 4.8 points a night.
Well, it depends. It depends on the system. It depends on the system.
I'm just saying in general, Bishop.
What I'm saying, if he would have went out there,
I'm not bringing up the LeBron factor. I'm bringing up straight. I think Reggie nailed it. Would it have killed him, or like they said before the draft, was he going to go in the portal and find another school? Because USC might not have been a good fit. Maybe again the parent factor, wanting to be close to home, didn't work out. But y'all remember, he was going to go in the portal and see what team was available for him to go play for. And then all of a sudden, he's in the NBA draft.
Would you have the same perspective if he said, "Damn, that averaged 20 points a game, wasn't a team player, just went for his because of his name, and said, damn, that I'm better than everybody on the team," and he averaged 20 points a game and he got drafted? Would you feel better about it then?
No, Because he would.
Okay.
He,
So he would
I
have been
ain't saying
damn.
he had to score.
But I'm
Bishop, I'm
saying
not saying he had to average 20 points a night. I'm saying he averaged 4.8 points
but
on
it's
a
the
very
system
bad
that
team.
it's the
Even if
system
he
that he was
averaged
playing in.
14 points, I'd have said, okay, maybe, kinda.
But it's the
But
system that he
4
was playing in.
points?
The system that he was playing in. Maybe he didn't
Ah,
have the opportunities.
He
Maybe he
also died like 4 months earlier. People forget
Yeah,
that.
well, then
he
he
didn't
should have
have.
played. He shouldn't have played at all. But
He had the
he was
opportunity. But
right.
if
He
you
was signaled to play. He played 25 of their 33 games.
right,
So if he wasn't healthy enough to play, then he wouldn't have played. We can't go back to that. No shade. But when he was cleared to play, he played. I
right,
will give him that. But again, guys, I'm not going into all the schematics and his
right.
daddy. I'm just saying 4.8, would it have hurt him to go back to college, or did it help him that his dad was LeBron and he gets a 3-year guaranteed contract
So
and we all move on?
well, let
I'll
me
say
ask you
this one
this.
thing.
Let me ask
I'll
you
say
this.
this one thing.
For that contract,
Let me just say this.
for that
Let me
contract,
just say this one thing. The one thing I'm sick and tired of hearing, I always think of this, guys, whether it's politics, sports, when we can always say, but this person did, then we're kind of losing sight of what we're talking about. Because if we're going to keep comparing what Dave did and Dominic didn't do, if that's your tree, then stand on that ground. But every time we compare a bad situation, then what is this situation?
No, well, I was
I
going to say
never understood that.
with the contract though, because people keep bringing that up. 2 guys that got drafted at him got the same 3-year guaranteed contract. It's slightly less because of the tiers. People are making these examples of what he got, and they're not looking at the person before him and the person after him. They got the same contract, so that wasn't out of the ordinary. Now, I don't know how many people have got drafted 50 or after that the world was excited about, but that's when you take a chance on anybody that may potentially have potential. So I mean, it's really like they think they're making a big deal. Like, yeah, he averaged 4 point something, but I just gave you a reference where the guy Johnson was drafted 23rd in the first round and averaged 2.9, but nobody said anything. Like,
yeah, but I gave you
so,
one. The guy averaged 16 points, won a chip, didn't even get drafted.
Well,
All
maybe
I'm
there was
saying,
something wrong with him. Maybe there was
sometimes those
something wrong with that
exactly.
guy.
Sometimes
well,
that has
that
to
he
do
again,
didn't.
off the court.
let's go back though, guys. Let's circle the wagon and go back. And somebody tell me during his 25 games in college, what was his strong suit?
So let me.
Who?
Yeah, I can tell you. I can tell you. So
Who?
Well, go ahead, Bish.
number one, he always made the right play. He's a pretty good defender. He's not as big as his father, but
No,
he's gonna
no.
be a guard. He's gonna be a
That defense
guard.
shit only came up when they said he averaged
Nah,
4.8 points.
no.
Who the hell plays defense in college?
What
It
I'm
was they were
saying.
saying that in high school.
No, what I'm saying
Who
to you,
plays
and
defense in college, guys?
what I'm saying to you
Really?
is, everybody's making this big deal. You made a very good point when you said it's about LeBron more than it is Bronny, because people don't like LeBron because he's lived up to the hype, and a lot of people were rooting for him to fail. So the fact that he didn't, people are still pretty salty about it. So that's why
But
they
I
highlight.
didn't say it was LeBron. I
No,
said
no,
it didn't hurt.
no. I'm saying
He's
the
saying what
brother
I said.
before you said he doesn't understand why people have such animosity towards LeBron, and I'm explaining to him why I believe that people have this animosity, because everything that was put before him, all of the expectations, all of the plateaus or whatever, he not only met that, but he superseded that,
I
and
agree.
that wasn't supposed to happen.
Of
That
course
wasn't
not.
supposed to happen. And not only did he do it, but he did it his way.
Yep.
He didn't
Who said it?
placate.
Who
He
said
didn't
it wasn't
placate the
supposed to
machine.
happen?
He didn't placate the machine. He didn't. He bucked the system. He didn't
Right, but
have
let me
one
ask
of
you,
the.
Bishop. Hold up, Bishop. Who said it wasn't supposed to happen?
No, there's a lot of people, regardless of. There's a lot of people who were hoping that he failed.
Well,
That's why. That's why they're. That's why they
who
always
are
look at.
they? Who are
Who are
these
there?
people
There's
that
people
said
in the
that?
media. There's people in the media. There's some of these sports writers who have this undercurrent of like animosity towards him because he's lived up to the expectations. He's lived up
Your
to the
man
hype.
Right.
Whitlock.
So
So they cover him. So they cover him, and they'll highlight any little thing that they see as a flaw. They'll highlight that and forget all of the other good things that this guy does,
no,
all of the other
I
accomplishments.
think that ship
And
had sailed
but the
years
play,
ago.
No, it's still there. It's still there. But
Nah,
Hold on.
they don't have no leg to stand on no
right.
more.
But
But
they
Bishop,
don't.
Bishop, there's also a lot of reporters that are on the contrary to what you're saying, who really
Exactly.
go on that really kind of boast LeBron, bring him up, put him and demand that everybody put him either on the same level, if not better than Michael Jordan, and you know
Yeah, but you always have
a
those
lot of
guys. You always have those
But,
guys
but
that are on the
that's
contrary.
everybody.
Right.
I think it's everybody of any kind of a position of fame or of importance. I don't doubt that for a second. Yes, are there people that hate LeBron? Absolutely. I think but I think it's because also of the time that we live in in the manner of how he does that. Remember, before the decision, LeBron was probably one of the most beloved people around. And the second that he made a decision and that he went to Miami and did all that stuff, he turned a lot of people who were big time LeBron supporters who wanted him to become bigger than Michael Jordan and wanted to live that existence with him. All of a sudden just became completely turned off, whether it's because he didn't come to the team that you wanted to come to, or he didn't stay in Cleveland, or whatever the case may be. LeBron did that a little bit to himself. So I'm not even negating what you're saying, but there are a lot of people like Brian Windhorst and a bunch of other people on ESPN, like Stephen A. Smith and all these other people that will essentially, for lack of a better term, will be on his jock and will boast him up and put him in that MJ conversation. And there are a lot of people that won't.
I've never seen so many people give a damn about where some black guy plays basketball before LeBron. I've never seen it.
Sure you have. Come
I've
on.
never
Sure
seen
you
it.
have.
I've
Come
never
on.
seen to the level that
Like
people,
Ab
who,
just said. For
who,
every one person you're
who.
talking about, there was two that was on the other side.
But I'm saying who has had to deal with the level of animosity about where he's playing basketball.
He created that.
Again,
He
Bishop, for
created
every
that.
one of those guys you're talking about, there was five on the other side. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
but
a give or take
still,
thing from the
so
get-go.
I'll give you one point and then I'll leave it alone. Do you think Bronny James would be served better with another year in college, or having a full year level of training at an NBA level on an NBA team in an NBA environment? What do you think he's going to get the most long-term benefit from? Staying in college or being in an NBA environment and being trained by NBA trainers? Which one?
I'll answer that quickly. It wouldn't hurt him either way, to be honest with you. It wouldn't hurt him
Right.
either
I was
way.
going to say that.
So he's going to learn more in college than he's going to learn in the NBA?
What is he going to learn in the NBA?
So he's going to be trained by NBA level trainers. He's going to be in that environment for 24/7 or however long he's there. In college, you don't get that level of training. In college, you don't get that level of attention. In college, the coach may pay attention to you. He may not pay attention to you. You got trainers that are specifically designed for your shooting, for your ball handling, for this, for that. You go and watch film. In college, you're not doing that. You got coaches sitting down and going through the film with you and saying, okay, well, this is where you need to be. It's a whole nother level. So you think he'd be better served sitting in college for another year than being in the NBA environment and getting that?
I could give you at least 100 players, Bishop, that it did help.
Okay,
that's all I'm gonna say. I can give you 100 players that stood. I'll give you one very recent, not that long ago. Matter of fact, one of the guys this year shouldn't have went that late in the draft. Edie, Player of the Year, 2 years in a row. That being said, he played 4 years, so he sort of gets punished for staying in college for 4 years. But he's maturer, he's older. Buddy Hield, another one. Tim Duncan, another one. David Robinson, another one. The list goes on and on.
But you're looking at a different time.
One and done, and
you're looking at a different. You're looking at a different time. It was a different
Buddy Hield
time.
ain't that different of a time.
No. I'm saying it was a different time. When you're saying Tim Duncan, David Robinson, it was unheard of.
Buddy Hield. Edie.
Where's Buddy Hield?
That's this year, and a couple of years ago.
But yeah, Buddy Hield. Where's Buddy Hield?
He just signed with Golden State.
He just signed with Golden State. Yeah.
What's his career been
better
like?
than him coming out of college?
What's his career been like?
He's a decent player.
Lisa Flair.
He's a one-dimensional shooter.
He's body.
Yeah, he's a
He's
shooter.
out of rotation. He's out
Right,
of
he's a
rotation.
shooter.
He was.
He
Where was he
played. He
playing?
played against us and didn't make any noise. We just beat him
Right.
when he was
Until they put him in the game, and then he almost shot us out.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
again,
He
where was he
wasn't in the
before?
game
The
for
guy
Where
that
was he?
rode the bench the whole series almost beat us by
There was
himself.
a reason. There was a reason why he was on the bench.
I mean,
I gotta think there was a reason why
if
he
He's
I
was
a
on the bench.
shooter.
Yeah.
That's his job. His job is to shoot. All I'm saying, guys, is he didn't suffer as bad staying in college for 4 years. Either did Edie. Either did numerous players. This one and done shit has us so affixed that these guys are going to be the next Moses Malone, Kevin Garnett's, LeBron James, matter of fact.
Edie
But how
needed
many
that
of them
time.
have really been that?
How many years did R.J.
So
Barrett
did Bronny.
stay in college?
One.
Okay,
I'm just
there's
saying.
your answer right there,
One
bro.
done.
There's your answer right there. Let's just leave it at
You
that.
know what's crazy? Knicks fans, we drafted a dude named Frank. And everybody tried to tell me how if we give this guy some time, maybe he can develop. But we don't want to give Bronny any time because he's LeBron's son. You got 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds coming to the league, and they always say, well, give him some time and maybe they'll develop. But because it's his son and he didn't do that
Right.
much in college after having
Right.
cardiac arrest, all of a sudden and he was taking 50th. He's not even a first round pick.
Right.
No second round pick, to my knowledge, has gotten this much attention getting drafted this late.
50
And
at
that's why I
50.
keep saying it's probably
Because people are going to
because of
correlate it, Craig, to who his father is. I didn't make the rules. They're going to do the correlation on their own.
They're
Mhm.
not mad. They're not mad. I don't want to bring in a different dynamic, but they're not mad because of who his father is. Because fathers have saved and given their kids stuff all the time.
I get that,
because
yeah.
LeBron. They mad because they feel like LeBron has taken over power of the NBA. Like the brother said before, he's opened up the ways where players can determine their own destinations, and the powers that be don't like
And
it.
how's that worked out?
So
It's worked out.
It's worked out for the
great.
players.
It's
It worked out for
great.
the players, but it weakened already weakened league.
So would you prefer to have coaches running around like Larry Brown and George Karl?
No. I'm
fucking up the
saying one
NBA
thing,
because
Bishop.
of their ego?
I agree.
Messing
I
up
agree
the
with
Olympics and all of that because of their
No,
ego?
I agree what Craig is saying. It opened up so many doors, but it also weakened the already weakened league.
I don't know about that.
When you have the
I don't know
power to
about that.
say, I'm only going to play. Let me just say one thing, guys, and I'll let the basketball. Did anybody hear the interview that basically Paul George did for himself over his negotiations? This guy was talking about shit like he was a 6-time MVP, a 4-time champion. This guy this guy has played an average of 50 games in the last 6 years, and he was talking about himself in their present, like he was talking to somebody else. It was sort of like Dave interviewing Dave, and Dave giving. It was weird as shit. But this is what we get. We get what
But
Craig
if you don't
said.
build yourself up, who's going to do it for you?
And I'm not debating what Craig's saying. I'm just saying you got all this power and you did nothing but weaken a weak ass league. That's all that's happened.
He didn't weaken the league because he wasn't in control.
No, they all did. Craig.
What he did was the powers that be didn't think it could ever happen because they thought these athletes would shut up and dribble. And he came in there and was brilliant enough. He never demanded a trade. He played out every contract. They got mad when he was getting the 1-and-1 contracts, what he did in Cleveland long before LA, and they didn't like it. But he didn't do anything outside of the parameters.
About that though, Craig.
No,
We're
but hold on, let me finish though. I'm talking about they're mad at themselves for allowing them not to have total control, which is what they want over these young athletes.
It's been that way forever, Craig.
No, it hasn't.
Okay.
You become a free agent, you go where you want to go.
Become a free agent,
Time out. Before we go any further, I just want to acknowledge our brother Ronan Black is in the room.
Ronan.
He's actually in the chat, and he said, I'm quoting him, people aren't rocking with LeBron because he has worn out his welcome. His ass kickers in the media who routinely try to diminish accomplishments of other great players to justify him, starting with his current handpicked head coach, Derrick. So that's essentially from our resident LeBron hater. Just kidding.
I knew this wasn't going to go left.
The
only thing I'm getting at is guys have been able to be free agents since the beginning of time or however far back. But now it's gotten to the point where And we've seen it over the last few years. Dave signs a contract, and the next morning Dave wakes up, oh, I don't like being on this team. And again, here we go with the comparing shit. Well, you know, when the owners want to trade you, but you just signed a contract, and now you want out of the contract. Not only do you want out of this contract, you're going to tell me where you want to go. And what has that done to the NBA?
It kills it.
And thank you.
Who
Became a
started that?
weaker league.
Who started that?
So what?
Who started it?
Who started that?
It's still doing it.
It was
Kareem.
okay when okay when Kobe
Kareem.
demanded a trade. He didn't go through it, but it was okay when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This
Guys, I'm
isn't
not
nothing
saying
new.
it's never been done. I'm saying, what has it done for the NBA? What matter of fact, Greg, you bring up a great point, Greg. Kareem did it. What happened to Milwaukee after that?
Gold
They didn't win another chip until the Greek Freak.
Yeah.
50
Right.
years.
So when you say so in other words, it's okay when the owners have all the power and they basically
No,
wear the
don't do that,
rubber
Bishop.
down. Well, no, they basically wear the rubber down on the player and use and abuse him as long as the ticket
You
sales are
chose
there.
that damn life, Bishop. Stop it.
Right.
You chose
Stop
that life.
that.
That's
But
your
I'm-
profession.
Hold on.
So
Hold on.
When your 3 years
So,
are up, you can go wherever the
We're
hell
not
you
gonna-
want.
so again, when I say, so look at Kevin Garnett. Look at LeBron James before he decided to move on from Cleveland. You had how many years in Cleveland? 7 years in Cleveland? And the ownership never made any sort of push to get players around him, even though he was a generational talent. Kevin Garnett wasted his whole career pretty much in Minnesota with little to no help. And it wasn't until he got out of there that he won a title. So
Right.
again, what I'm saying is, if you allow the owners to dictate the parameters and pretty much say, hey, well, you do it as I say, and I don't care about winning championships. I don't care about your legacy.
Again,
I don't care about any of that. I'm just
That's
concerned
bullshit.
about my bottom
You're
line.
You're going down. Bishop, let me ask you a question, Bishop. LeBron stood in Cleveland 7 years.
Wasted
Garnett stood in
time.
Minnesota 1,000,000 years. What's the
Wasted
common denominator in all of this? The word they stood. They stood. No matter what the owner did or didn't do, they stood. They signed the contract. They decided to stay in Cleveland, in
Right.
Minnesota. Nobody forced them to stay there. When their contract was up, just like LeBron did on his 8th year and said, I don't want no part of this no more. I'm taking my talents to South Beach. When they convinced Garnett to finally leave Minnesota, again, there was a common denominator in everything you're saying, Bishop. They chose to stay. They didn't have to. To Craig's point, when your contract is up,
You're free to go.
Free agent. That's why they call it a free agent. I'm talking something else. When you sign a contract and you wake up the next morning and you want to go play for, you want to go play for the Knicks, but you only want to play for the Knicks if they have Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. I mean,
So that's James Harden.
But
yeah, it's
Hold
more
on.
than
Hold on.
James Harden.
You're also talking about. You're also talking about. You're also talking about an already fragile league that has, and I think one thing that we always forget to mention, but Dom always reminds me, it's a salary cap. There is, I mean, if you don't want the owners to have that much power, why would they agree to a collective bargaining agreement that institutes, a first apron, a second apron, tax penalties, and a hard cap? If that's the case, if it's about the power, you don't have to agree to that. You can force a strike. You can force a movement, and then you can remove the salary cap and just only have instead of having a cap, just deeper penalties, have an apron, and you'll be done with that. But let's be realistic. It wasn't like LeBron James when he was in Cleveland for all those years that he wasn't handsomely paid. He was. Right. Same thing with Kevin Garnett when he was drafted. Same thing with Kobe Bryant when he was drafted. Same thing with anybody else when they get drafted. They get handsomely paid once that money came in, and their $5-10 million guaranteed came in. No one said a fucking word. But all of a sudden, all of a sudden now the owners have too much power because you're talking about millionaires versus billionaires, and you're forgetting that sometimes these billionaires make their money. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them make them the same way that we do.
So let me just pose an idea, just an idea.
Okay.
And do you so when people say it's hurt the NBA, how has it hurt the NBA? Are they making less money?
Yes.
No,
they're making more
Yes,
money.
they are.
No, they're making
Well,
more money now.
no,
I'll let y'all finish. Go ahead.
They're making more money now. So much so that they come out with an increased salary cap. They get a larger TV deal. They're getting larger TV deals. The salaries are going up. The veterans minimum is going up. So how has it hurt the NBA? It hasn't. The NBA is
Because
making
of what-
money hand over fist.
What
It's still
Ab
making-
just said with the cap and all that. You know why the players don't say shit and they agree to everything? And I take nothing away from them because we all remember the days when it was a 40-60 split. Once the NBA and the NBA Players Union and the owners came up with the 50-50, nobody gave a shit no more about anything else. You could have an apron, a napkin, a tablecloth. Nobody gives a shit no more because our split is still 50-50. That's revenue. So whatever they're making off these TV deals, the players are getting a 50-50 split. I'm telling you guys, go back and do the math. When that happened, nobody gave two shits no more. All they cared about is, who am I going to sign with? Or how can I bitch my way off of this team? And regardless, even if you went to said team, you were still enjoying that 50-50 split.
Yeah, but
and I'm not saying they didn't deserve it, guys. Don't take that the wrong way.
Let me say this about that. When we look at players, let's just say LeBron. One of the things that we look at are championships, and a lot of these guys, they get stuck in these situations. When our dear brother Mac was alive, what do we talk about the Knicks all the time? We call them the tax write-offs. And so you had guys who get trapped in these situations, and yeah, they signed up for this, but ultimately they're all making money. But the thing that separates them from others is that did they win a chip? How many chips did they win? So it's never enough. So if they get stuck in a situation where the ownership is not doing anything, why shouldn't they want to leave and go somewhere if their whole legacy is ultimately based on chips?
Especially the top end players.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the way we look at it. That's how we separate LeBron from Jordan. Ultimately, we look at the chips and the Kobe and the others. Well, a lot of people do. Well, that's what they use that as a barometer. So it's not good enough just to be a great player. Did you win? And if you get stuck in a situation, you mentioned Bishop mentioned Kevin Garnett in Minnesota. He wasn't going to win there.
No.
He was going to win until Stephon Marbury messed that situation up.
Well,
when they got Stephon Marbury and Malik Tilly, they were contenders.
Right. That's true. But I'm saying
got mad at the money they gave him.
Sometimes, though, you get stuck in a situation that you have no control over, and so you can get yourself out of that situation if that is what the ultimate barometer. Because Craig, you talked about the Hall of Fame, and I think the Hall of Fame in a lot of sports are watered down. But a lot of guys get in there because they won. Ultimately you're good, but then you throw in the fact that they won a couple of chips, and then we're even looking at them as being greater. So I just think that element of it has to be looked at. The fact that how do we measure these players? Because the money is going to be the money. If the market is there for it, they're going to get it. And you got guys who never won a thing who are getting paid beautifully.
Not to mention, I know some of y'all are paying attention to this new TV deal with Amazon, NBC, and ESPN.
Yeah.
Now, here's where the slope gets slippery, because you're going to enjoy 50% of that revenue. And these people that are buying into this with billions of dollars, they're doing that based on sponsorship, except Amazon. That's a streaming network, so they already have subscribers. So, but NBC and ESPN, And if you look back, guys, I think it's over the last 4 years, the NBA Finals ratings have dropped historically. 5.1%, 7 point whatever percent.
Yep.
Each year for umpteen years in a row, their ratings have dipped. But these people are still willing to invest.
Yeah.
I forgot the number that Amazon put up.
Yeah,
it's actually
It's like
crazy as shit. The
it's
billions
like
of dollars
116
Amazon
billion.
putting up.
Yeah, but so how is the NBA hurting? So tell me, how is the NBA hurting?
That's what I'm getting at, Bishop. The NBA overall is not hurting, but again, now you take this revenue that we're splitting 50-50. If that revenue was being split 40-60, owner player, would we have these aprons and these tablecloths and all of these cap shit? Again, this is a league that is getting, I don't even know what the total number is, guys. The billions between Amazon, the billions between ESPN, and the billions between ESPN. How the fuck is this league having a salary cap with shitty ratings?
That's my point.
Where's that money going?
That salary cap.
That's my point.
Where's that money going, guys?
That salary cap and that apron, it wasn't revenue driven because the league was becoming less competitive, and they wanted small markets.
That's not going to work,
and they
Greg.
wanted small markets to be able to.
I'll give us. Hopefully, we're all alive in 2 years.
Hold on.
Let me just say this, guys. Hopefully we're all alive in 2 years. Won't nobody be talking about this shit again? Because the owners will find a way, as they've done in the past. Whether Craig and Dominic want to pay that money, we're going to pay that money to keep our teams competitive. Ain't nothing going to stop that. Nothing.
So on that, I want to jump ahead. Craig, you wanted to say one last thing on this? Yeah,
no, I mean, some of those teams will, but they set it up so that you incur costs when you try to do that.
And they'll do it, Craig.
Yeah.
I mean,
they'll do it.
There's people that'll break every law if they incur.
They will. Golden State's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why they won those championships, but it doesn't diminish the fact that we talk about how those dudes got those rings. Like, that's another thing that needs to be brought up too. Like, a lot of these guys have rings because their owners paid $130 million in premiums to go ahead.
And Milwaukee's another one. So now it's our turn. Is our team going to say, you know what? Fuck all these aprons.
So that is actually a segue, and I joked that in the beginning of this that the short portion would be the Bronny James thing, but let's segue into our team. I think we're all pretty much. Do the Knicks need to make any more moves?
Yes, they absolutely do.
They absolutely do. Okay, so tell us about it. Let's go.
Well, the New York Knicks, they desperately need to address the front court situation. There is, a tweet out there that Jalen Brunson is about ready to sign a 4-year, $156 million extension, which is an enormous pay cut, in terms of how much he's leaving on the table. Because if he were to wait a year and make the All-NBA team again, his maximum would be somewhere along the lines of 280 to 300 million, for the full extension of the contract, and he's taking dramatically less money. So it's funny that we were just talking about the salary cap. He's doing this because of the fact that there is a salary cap, and he understands that if he takes the biggest chunk, if he takes up 60 to 72 million dollars, of the salary cap for a year. That's a year that he can almost say we're probably not going to be able to compete. We're not going to be able to sign anybody because we could probably sign maybe one other guy, to a max level deal, and then a bunch of room exceptions and veteran minimums. So this is great for the Knicks, but that just tells me that two things. One, it's funny that we're talking about extensions for Jalen Brunson, but we haven't talked about an extension for Julius Randle. And two, you still have this big issue of who's going to be your starting center. If it is going to be Mitchell Robinson, can you trust him to play all 80, more than 70 games this season? He's only done that once. And who's going to back him up? Because I don't feel comfortable with just it being Jericho Sims and Ariel Hurkrodia, or however you say his name. I don't feel comfortable with that center position being that way. And who's backing up Julius? Are you re-signing Precious Achiuwa? Are you not? What are we doing? So the Knicks, they definitely need to make some moves. They definitely do.
So when you say that, I'm confused because everybody made this whole big brouhaha about Hartenstein leaving.
Right.
Everybody made this. So the contribution that Hartenstein made was he rebounded and he hustled. That was his major contribution. So if you had Mitchell Robinson, you got Jericho Sims. Why can't you see if Jericho Sims can fill that? Why do you have to go out and at this point? Because right now you have a bunch of talent. You got like 7 or 8 guys that are talented that could put the ball in the basket. So
Right.
that big man, the offensive opportunities, rebounds, putbacks, some pick and rolls here and there, some lobs. There's not going to be a steady diet of offense. So initially, I was on this train before they got some of the players they got. I was on this train that we needed to get a big man who could score, who was an offensive threat. Now, if the person can hit free throws, rebound, get putbacks, I'm happy with that. Why can't we see what Jericho Sims can give us?
Because Jericho Sims can't. Because Jericho Sims, you just mentioned it right there, Bishop. Jericho Sims can't hit free throws. Neither can Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is so inept on offense that, and Dom, you and I say this all the time. We're essentially playing 4-on-5 offensively every time Mitchell Robinson's on the floor. Right. And yes, you're right. You have enough guys on this team that can put the ball in the hole, but you want all 5 guys that are on the floor to be able to be somewhat of a threat or somebody that you have to pay attention to, so that way you're not doubling up on Julius, you're not doubling up on Jalen Brunson, you're not doubling up on Dante DiVincenzo or Mikal Bridges or anybody else like that. You want 5 guys that you have to do, that you have to watch, that you have to protect, that you have to do something with, and actually you have to make your opposition play 5-on-5 straight up basketball. So if you don't, Jericho Sims nor Mitchell Robinson does that. Mitchell Robinson is definitely, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, offensive rebounders in the league. His biggest problem, he's never healthy. He hasn't been healthy. In the 5 years that he's been with the Knicks, he's been healthy one season.
Right.
Not to cut across anybody.
Every 2 minutes. Whenever it goes under 2 minutes, you got to take him out the game. Can't this guy just work on his foul shots? I will say this. If the Knicks don't sign Precious Achiuwa, that means they must be comfortable in that kid. I don't know how to say his name. Diate, whatever his name is. That 18-year-old kid.
Those dudes are
not going to be comfortable with him.
They ain't signed Precious because they're trying to make a trade. They ain't signed Precious because they're still trying to make a trade.
Precious is cheap.
They're looking at that Duran kid. They're looking at. I think they're looking to make a move before they sign him.
Precious is cheap. He's cheap. He's going to be cheap to sign.
But they haven't signed him yet. I'm thinking this kid is supposed to be pretty good.
Who
can he fill a role? My only problem is because we're asking what would we do or what do we think. I think that's an issue that they kept avoiding, and it bit us in our ass last year. Good. I mean, nobody is ever going to knock what Josh Hart did during Julius Randle's absence.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it came back to haunt us.
Yeah.
You can't have a 6'4" guy playing power forward.
Dom. So today on my Facebook feed, I'm chuckling because I know how you feel about these videos.
Yeah,
your man, Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson was crossing people up, shooting turnaround, step back threes.
Yeah.
I've been seeing that from Mitchell Robinson. I've been seeing that from Mitchell Robinson over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Has he ever done that in a game? Ever?
No, they said so. The guy that was commentating, he said, "Man, if Mitch Robinson ever does one of these moves, Tibbs is taking him out immediately."
I don't even think that's the case, guys. I just think, matter of fact, you remember Anna used to be on the Bleed Blue show with us. Well, her and her friend got this Nick-ish podcast. They invited me and Nick and Nader on the other night. And as soon as his name came up, somebody said, Did you see the? And everybody just started laughing.
Right.
They didn't get. Did you see the video? Everybody just started laughing. He's the only guy I know, man, that looks like Earl Monroe during the off season, and then looks like Mitchell Robinson. You know what everybody said to a
like
person?
him and Ben Simmons.
Yeah, there was 5 of us on the line. Everybody said the same thing. Instead of whirling and twirling, why ain't he shooting 100 foul shots?
Right. Do that.
Because he's too busy hitting threes. He's too busy hitting threes.
He ain't never gonna do that.
He was in a high school gym. He was in a high school gym with his high school friends. He needed trainers.
Exactly.
That's why. I saw that video and it made me sick. I was like, this is unbelievable. He's dunking on kids that got to wake up and go to work at 8 in the morning. Like, why do they keep posting this?
That's what
he was crossing them.
No.
My question. All right. I got a question for the group here, though. Obviously, Dom, you and I, we do this shit on our show, about the rumors, and of course, I think CP from Knicks Fan TV dropped the big one the other day, where he says that the Knicks are looking at trying to trade for Karl Anthony Towns, and I've been very, very quiet about this because I was waiting for either our show or for this show to discuss it. But I want y'all's opinion first before I even mention it.
So
what do you guys? Go ahead.
Let me that on this before we go into it. When you mentioned that, just let me know because we might be entering the unhinged portion of the show right now.
Yeah.
So
you haven't got to that in a couple of weeks.
Y'all go at it with Cat.
I missed this question, guys. My earbud went out.
Oh, he was asking
about the rumor
about Karl Anthony Towns.
Oh, get out of here. Can I answer that real quick?
Yes, please.
I'll answer it with a question. When has the last time the Knicks leaked anything? You know what? It used to annoy me that Leon Rose and them acting like they work for the NSA, but so far so good. Yeah. You've never heard none of their trades publicly until it happened. All the rumors are, here we go again, guys, Knicks for clicks, created by who? Knicks fans. So I don't believe no rumor I ever hear about the Knicks trades, what Leon Rose is thinking, because I don't even think Leon Rose knows what he's thinking until he does it.
But if it's true, would you do it?
No, not at all. Who we trading? Who we trading for Karl Anthony Towns?
It would probably be something along the lines, just for the money, it would have to be Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson and possibly a Deuce McBride and a draft pick just to make it sweet.
Karl Anthony Towns can't shine Julius Randle's broken foot. No, that's not even a good comparison.
No.
The guy is soft. He wants to be a 7-foot Jerry West. He's not versatile. No. I love the trade Julius Randle. Like 20, 10, and 5 grows on trees. But I don't entertain it no more. I don't believe in the rumors. I just can't get into that shit, guys, honestly.
The reason I even dared to bring this up and trigger the unhinged portion is just because, some of these, other, content creators will dare say that Cat actually fits the Knicks chemical makeup better than Julius does. And I always kind of look at it. That same sound you just did right there. That same sound is the same identical sound I just made when I heard that. Because I'm always thinking to myself, if the Knicks are, really going to be like the Villanova Knicks, if anybody who watched college basketball, and I actually have to go back because I'm not a big college basketball guy, and Dom knows this. But I actually then went back and looked at a couple of games to see how, what their style of play is. And, just to get an idea of how Mikal Bridges is going to fit, with the team, not just with with DiVincenzo, Hart, and Brunson, but with the rest of the team. And I'm thinking to myself, you're going to need somebody like Julius Randle on this team, because if you play it the other way, it becomes a little bit easier to defend. Now you have a low post guy who can bully the boards and control the paint. Now you could open those guys up for open shots. I mean, wouldn't you want to keep Julius Randle under any circumstance and possibly extend him? But of course, I'm just of the silent majority, but it's a silent minority. I rather get it, shoot it out to you guys to see what you guys think over, as a basketball question. will that make sense? Is Karl Anthony Towns a better fit, chemistry wise or for fit wise?
No.
I think it's gonna depend. I think what a lot of people are overlooking, like when you look at Julius Randle on a piece of paper, you see 20, 10, and 5. When I look at Julius Randle on the court, I see a dude with a tremendous ego that don't get along well with others, and when things don't go his way, he throws tantrums with his body language, and I think that's what the Knicks people are probably scared of. I don't have no
he stopped
insiders.
doing
I ain't in the locker room, so
Nah,
I don't know what's going on and stuff. Like before he got hurt, he had that, but now he was doing that initially when Brunson got here. Now you got his buddy Mikal here. You got OG here. Randall is going to have to decide that he wants to fit in. And I don't care about this 20, 10, and 5 stuff. We need to win basketball games. So if he needs to do what he needs to do to win those games, plus he's also a ball-dominant power forward too. So he's not the guy that normally we kick it into in the post. Like this guy's getting the ball and holding it for 10 and 15 and 20 seconds. He's going to have to change his game.
You saying that the Julius Randle that was playing before Jaime Jaquez undercut him? That's the Julius Randle that we needed. The Julius Randle who was playing in his mid-range, who was driving to the basket, who, if you got in his airspace, because people were like crowding him, saying, okay, well, that would throw the elbow across and hit somebody in the face and get the offensive foul to send a message. That guy, that's the guy that we need. The guy who was like stepping back and taking threes when we had RJ Barrett here and thinking he was cute and doing all and shooting all them jump shots. That's not the guy. And
let's see how he reacts.
Once we got OG, you realize all of that pouting when he didn't get calls, all of that stopped. Because what happened was
that. That's short. Yeah, that wasn't a lot of games, so I don't remember that. But
I remember once we got OG, all of that pouting and not getting back on defense and sulking and so forth, all of that stopped, and he started focusing on playing ball more, and that's when he was really effective because he was playing in his wheelhouse. He was playing in his wheelhouse, and it was easy. It was an easy 20 points and 10 rebounds. It was easy.
Let me say
Is it a contract year? Is it a contract year?
Yeah, but everybody talks about the Julius Randle before we had any other players. When it was just Julius Randle. But I'll ask you this. We always talk about who's got to adjust. Is Mikal Bridges better than Julius Randle? No. Is OG Anunoby better than Julius Randle? No. So
on some nights,
they should be learning how to fit in and be a team. Fuck who's dribbling, who's this. Now Julius Randle has other players on his team. The same way when he played for New Orleans and they couldn't get out their way, but the best year they had is when they had a point guard named Drew Holiday. Right. When Julius Randle came to the Knicks, first and foremost, he was the first player on this team that gave the Knicks the hometown discount, which allowed us to get Brunson, which allowed us to get Anunoby. This is what Julius Randle did. We all want to go back to the time when Julius Randle didn't have nobody on his team. When Julius Randle was jacking threes, who else on the team shot? Who was
I'm going back to last year.
Yeah, what
did he do last year? He got hurt. He led the Knicks to where they got last year until he got hurt.
Prior to his injury. All I'm saying is that Julius Randle has thrown tantrums and slapped laptops. There's a reason why this guy's not getting paid. If he's everything that we're saying he is, and Leon Rose is this business genius, he'd have been offered an extension. First of all, we need to also make sure his shoulders are right, because last I checked, he was saying it still bothers him on the last interview I saw. So they probably need to make sure that's all right. But we also need to make sure that he's going to be able to humble himself enough to play. Every star can't play with a group of talented players, and we need to see if that's it. And I think when they say Cat is, I don't know if he can or can't. What I'm saying
is
that.
What makes you think he can't though?
I'm trying to answer you. I'm not saying that he can't. I'm saying that there must be some indication of why, because it doesn't make sense not to offer him an extension if he's everything that we're saying that he is.
He's not up for one yet.
And I think when they say that Cat is,
he's eligible for one though.
He is eligible for one. And I think when they say that Cat is a better fit, is because he can shoot threes and spread the offense for guys like Brunson. He can play center and stuff like that. Like I don't necessarily agree. I don't want Cat, and Tibbs already coached Cat. Tibbs doesn't want Cat. I think that's just some nonsense. I don't even feed into that particular whatever. We're gonna try to get a center, and that's it.
Let me just say this about Julius Randle, because Dom kind of hit on where I was going with this. Well, first of all, when Julius Randle was putting up all of those shots and doing. He didn't have anybody. RJ Barrett was the number 2 option, and we know what RJ gave us. So last year when we made the OG trade, and the team took that turn, then Julius got hurt. All I kept thinking about is, man, I'd love to see what these guys look like, all healthy, all together. And so I'm still of that mindset because I really believe that until Julius proves me wrong, I believe that he wants to win. He wants to win here, and I think that he's capable of doing, what it takes to win. I think part of the tantrums come from when you don't have any help. When you look over at your teammates and you're like, well, I got to do something, and I'm not getting the calls and all these things. And he felt like it was all on him. The way this team is constructed now, that Julius Randle doesn't have to be that type of player. He doesn't have to take on that kind of burden. So I'd love to see, at least give us a chance to see what that would look like.
Last thing, Dave.
Yeah, I don't think they can.
When the Knicks got OG Anunoby in the 17 games that they played together, first of all, they was 14-3. They had the highest plus-minus ratio of a duo in NBA history. Their plus-minus ratio on the floor together was like a 138. No duo has ever done that in NBA history. Now, again, it was a small sample size. Randle got hurt, and then again, we sit here talking about Julius Randle like he's a piece of rock on it, and we still got to figure out if OG Anunoby could play a 72-game season or a 68-game season. I think we had this conversation, Craig.
I don't think he can. He better play in that last. He better play in that last game. We beat a lot of bad teams when that OG stat is so misleading because we won a lot of games without him too. But we need to make sure OG is there at the end of the season. If he misses 20 games of regular season, I won't care. But he better be ready for the playoffs. That's all I know.
Careful. We got to be careful with that too, Craig, because people will say, it's okay if but how far would that put us behind if he misses 20 games, Brunson misses 20 games, Randall misses 20 games? Are we going to be a play-in?
Robinson misses 40 games.
He misses 40 games.
Yeah, I don't trust OG. Me personally,
I don't either. Again, we had this conversation, Craig, before they signed him, and
I'm terrified.
I gotta suck it up because I'm a Knicks fan. Yeah. But it don't mean I agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we really didn't have a choice, but it was just a tough place to be in. Like it was like, oh my God, man.
I don't think, guys, that the Knicks should have felt a certain way of re-signing him for the simple fact that we gave up RJ Barrett and Quickly. Because again, we've been over this a million times. We knew Quickly wasn't going to re-sign, and we weren't going to pay him top dollar to be a backup point guard. We had our point guard. Quickly was going to walk irregardless. RJ Barrett, again, we said this when they first signed him. He had a very movable contract, and that came to fruition. We was able to move him, and then RJ Barrett probably said the greatest thing I ever heard an ex-Knick say. It was glad to know that I left the team better than it was when I got there. Yes, you did.
Yes,
when
did.
You left, we won more games. We got a better player, and good luck in Toronto.
Yeah, I don't think
you know what's crazy.
He's right.
When we traded for Mikal, which I think we did before we paid OG, I had told a friend of mine I would have let OG walk. I
got Mikal.
I'm probably in the minority, but I think Mikal is better than OG.
Yeah.
So
he is.
I would have let him walk, let Randall come in there, let Mikal play his natural 3, let Dante play the 2, Brunson, and figure out the center and go to war. That was me personally because I just didn't feel comfortable. Like I'm no NBA scout and all that stuff, but one thing I am as a businessman, I'm not paying a dude $40 million and not show up to work. I just can't do it.
No.
I just can't do it. I love OG. I think he's a monster when he plays, but he just don't play enough for me to respect him.
And what could we have done with that $43 million?
Unbelievable things. We could have built out the depth and been a stronger team. And again, I think Mikal on both ends, people will say OG is the best perimeter defender in the league, and I won't argue if you say that. But let's not act like Mikal is 30.
Right.
Mikal is very close, and he can dribble, He can create and he can shoot from places outside of just the corner three. To me, he's a better
available.
Player. And he plays 82 games.
Well, that was the thing. To Craig's point is you can't guard anybody from the bench in street club.
I'm a strong believer that Mikal. Once we got Mikal, I was happy. I thought we was gonna let OG walk because I don't care that we traded whoever we traded. Like to your point, Dom, I don't care that we got rid of them. They're gone. Who cares? Keep Mikal. Bring Randall in here. Save that $40 million and find something else to do with it. That's what I was thinking.
Did we re-sign OG before we got Mikal Bridges? I think
no.
After.
Oh,
it was right after. It was the next day.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it was literally the next day.
Yeah.
Next day, yeah.
So it was probably in the works. They probably did the trade and then re-signed them. But
I hate the way people take it personal. It's not that I don't like OG Anunoby. I just think knowing you got Mikal Bridges, what was you gonna feel sorry, Craig, that somebody was gonna say, "Oh shit, you gave up two of our best kids, and now we don't have this guy."
Nobody.
Oh well.
I mean,
but now we got $43 million in cap space,
and we got Mikal Bridges.
And we got Mikal Bridges.
Yeah. And that because now is Mikal starting at the 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Dante goes to the bench and Hart goes to the bench, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is great.
That helps.
Now they go back to being who they're supposed to be.
Your second unit.
I like that.
Yeah.
I just don't like the idea we don't have a backup power forward, and unless we're going to play Sims, which at this point I think we're going to have to because we didn't. I lost count after the Knicks let Valanciunas and Drummond off the board. I'm like, well, I guess they're going to be happy with Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims.
Well, I will say this.
Drummond signed before he signed his contract before Hartenstein did. So that was I think they were holding out. He signed mad quick.
He signed mad quick because that's the same thing. I was thinking like, damn, he coming off the bench getting 10 rebounds in 3 minutes. I take that.
Well, let me just say the Knicks have really, in my book, they still pulled off a really good off season. And they might have another trick, up their sleeves. I'm not going to doubt them. I mean, of course, it's all what's out there and what they're able to do. But I don't think they've stopped trying. I think that they do have some ideas, and if nothing else, going from the disappointing end to the playoffs and what could have been with the injuries to what they did with the draft and the trades and all of those different things, I can't help but feel optimistic about it. So if does anybody else have anything else to add to this or anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Can we all agree that we're in the best position we've been in the last 15 years?
Absolutely, amen.
I'm with you on that. Yep.
I mean, how could you took three picks, going into the draft, and you drafted these many players, and you still ended up with more draft picks. I mean,
than we started with.
And it's like that's. I'm sorry, but if you go to the casino with $100 and you still come back with 4, then that's still a victory, isn't it not? I mean, that's the way I look at it.
You got something in your pocket to go home with. All right. Well, with that said, fellas, I'm gonna draw this episode of Untitled to a close. It's really been fun, and it's been fun jumping in for our brother, our host, Rodney Jones. And so I want to say thank you to Dom, Knickerbocker Ave, Shamika, Craig, Bishop, Ronan, Reggie, and to all out there watching. Everybody, we'll see you. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe. Stay cool out there. And until next time, peace, brother.
Right. Thanks, y'all.
All right, fellas. Be good.
Thanks for having me, guys.